Good afternoon, and thank you for being here today. I am U.S. Army Sergeant Hubert Delaney, and I will be your Master of Ceremonies this afternoon. Today is a solemn day to recognize our U.S. Armed Forces and those who have served and sacrificed for their country and for their loved ones. To elaborate on our purpose today, the late General Colin Powell said this: Veterans Day is a time when the nation stops and recognizes that we are free. We are a democracy. We are a successful country in the world because we've had to fight for it over the years. We believe the nation will one day serve us, and that is still happening today. I would add that we must continue to believe in those that serve and remember them not just on Veterans Day, but every day. So on behalf of the Stanford Patriotic and Special Events Commission, the Stanford Veterans Park Partnership, the Stanford Veterans Council, and Mayor David Martin, we welcome you to our 2021 Stanford Veterans Day ceremony. We would also like to recognize our dignitaries and special guests. Our political leaders present include U.S. Congressman Jim Himes, Stanford Mayor David Martin, Mayor-elect Caroline Simmons, Connecticut Senator Pat Miller, Connecticut Representative Corey Paris, Connecticut Representative Matt Blumenthal, Connecticut Representative Dan Fox, Steve Fisher, the commander of the Stanford Veterans Council, Richard Redness, president of the Stanford Veterans Park Partnership, and a gallery of distinguished elected and appointed city officials. Ladies and gentlemen, I will ask all those who can, please stand for the raising of the colors and the singing of the national anthem. The raising of the flag today will be executed by the Stanford Police and Fire Department Honor Guards, and today's rendition of the national anthem will be performed by Sergeant First Class Joe Colavito.
say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Sergeant Colavito, and thank you to our police and fire department honor guards with the presentation of our colors and our national anthem. You may now be seated. We will now have our invocation. It will be conducted today by Rabbi Phil Schechter.
Great God of us all, we gather together to remember, to honor, and to thank. We remember those who responded to the call to defend and protect our beloved land. Their service then enabled us to be here today in freedom. Many gave their lives. Many lost their health, earning a Purple Heart, that we might live in liberty. We will never forget them, for all that we have and share is the result of their sacrifice and dedication. We also thank and honor those who today stand ready, even in far-off places, to defend and protect us and those we love. They still risk their own lives and well-being that we be safe in this free country. We pray that they will be protected and strengthened in their mission on our behalf. In this special place and at this sacred moment, may we join together in our diversity and share our hope for America, that it always be the land of the free and the home of the brave. And we say together, Amen.
Thank you for your wonderful invocation. We would like to thank all the participants who made this Veterans Day Parade a success. And a special recognition goes out to Fred Drankin of Springdale Post 9617 of the Veterans of Foreign Wars. Mr. Drankin is a World War II veteran, and for the last 24 years, Fred has provided a parade trailer to transport his fellow service members, especially those with limited mobility, so that they can participate in the parades. This year is his 43rd parade, and we cannot thank you enough for your support to our city and our veterans. The Grand Marshal for this year's parade is Navy veteran James L. Dudley, Jr., who will now be presented with a proclamation from Mayor David Martin and be given an opportunity to say a few words, after which we will hear briefly from our dignitaries and elected officials, starting with Congressman Jim Hines.
Thank you. It is a fabulous, fabulous day today. I think everyone can agree. Truth is that even if it was raining, maybe even hailing, it'd still be a fabulous day because of the service of so many people who have defended this country and have made this a day where you have so many freedoms that are cherished by us and are not afforded to everyone around this world, including the freedom of speech and the freedom of assembly and the freedom to worship the Creator as so you choose. And we give thanks to those who have defended this country and made it possible. Today, our Grand Marshal, Dudley, who I've known for a long time, the proclamation. And it's a long proclamation, but I'm going to read the whole thing. The City of Stamford proudly honors Petty Officer 3rd Class James L. Dudley, Jr. as Grand Marshal of the 2021 Stamford Veterans Day Parade, and whereas James Dudley enlisted in the United States Navy and began active service on November 19, 1971, attended boot camp at Naval Recruit Training Center, Great Lakes, Illinois, and was assigned to the aircraft carrier USS Saratoga, CV-60, stationed at Naval Station, Mayport, Florida. And whereas Jim, that's not what it says, but that's what I'm going to say, deployed to the Western Pacific on the USS Saratoga in 1972 for combat duty during the Vietnam War for over 10 months off the coastal waters of both North and South Vietnam, to include the Gulf of Tonkin, where the ship and crew were awarded the coveted Battle Efficiency Award known as the Battle E. And whereas Jim, while on the bridge as a lookout, did witness the fatal crash of an A-6 intruder attack aircraft and assisted in the successful search and rescue operation for the Bombardier Navigator, who was the sole survivor. And whereas James Dudley was awarded the Vietnam Service Medal, Vietnam Campaign Medal with 1 Battle Star, Cold War Service Ribbon, Navy Unit Commendation, National Defense Service Medal, Vietnam Gallantry Cross from the Republic of Vietnam, and the Connecticut Wartime Veteran Service Medal. And whereas Jim has been a steadfast champion of veterans' causes. Let me pause for just a moment. And it's that word steadfast that caught me. I think, as some of you know from a previous thing, when they sing the Star-Spangled Banner, when the sergeant, where'd Sergeant Cavalita go? There he is. I'm not going to ask him to sing it again, but when you get to that part, oh, say, does that flag still wave? And as a child, I thought that was a question. Does the flag still wave? Turns out it's poetry, Old English poetry. It's not a question, it's a statement. That flag has flown from that battle in Baltimore Harbor during the War of 1812 all through today. And the steadfast support, the, if I may, always faithful, not just of the Marines, but of all the services who have defended this country from all sorts of challenges. And here we are with the challenges that we face in this world today, both domestic and foreign, yet that flag still waves. It is the veterans for which Jim stands today that have made this possible, and all I can say is thank you very much. And I'm not always happy with the way it goes, but quite frankly, we as a country have gone extremely well, and it would not have been possible without that steadfast, always faithful service of the veterans who have served in so many wars from the beginning of this country through today. And so, while we award the Grand Marshal Award to this guy, thank you all for what you did and what you have done and what you stood for. I thank you. Amen. Whereas Jim Dudley has been a steadfast champion of veterans' causes as a life member of the Disabled American Veterans member of the American Legion, life member and junior vice commander of Veteran Springdale Post 9617, veteran of foreign wars and commander of the Catholic War Veterans Cocoa Brothers Post 1957. And whereas Jim still resides in Stamford with his wife Deborah, along with his children Melissa, Christina, and Sean, who through their own sacrifices have supported Jim through his military and civilian life. Now therefore I, David R. Martin, Mayor of the City of Stamford, hereby proclaim November 7th, 2021 to be Petty Officer 3rd Class Jim L. Dudley Jr. Day, and on behalf of our citizens and all those who have served to protect this country, honor you for your lifelong devotion to duty and selfless service to our community and our country. Proclamation, Jim.
We love you, Jim!
Yeah. Let's take a picture again with him smiling. Let's go there.
Smile, Dad.
I even heard a smile dad from coming from there, so you were all right. Take the microphone, my man.
Thank you very much, Mayor Martin. I'm not going to talk very long. I know we have a ceremony to go through. But what a great day to be a veteran. I'm so happy to see so many of my fellow veterans, male, female, brothers and sisters. Glad you're all here. Let's hear it for those veterans who are here today and for the members and their families who obtained the Purple Heart. Let's give them a round of applause. I'm beyond, this is tough because I'm beyond any kind of words. I'm at a loss of words sometimes because I never saw this coming. I love my hometown of Stamford. As you know, I served on the Board of Reps for 6 years, and I've been involved in a number of activities, but to get this award was really a surprise. I have a feeling that my cousin Fergus Connors, whose name is on the monolith in back of us and who gave his life for our country, and my brother-in-law Ray Pagliarulo, who recently passed away, who served on the USS Kearsarge, I think they might have had something to do with it. I'm not going to go on for very long. I'd just like to say, I'm going to leave with one thought. And this is a quote, to paraphrase actually, of John F. Kennedy. Who said the following: any man who asks what he did to make his life worthwhile can respond with a great deal of pride and satisfaction and say, I served in the United States Navy. And I'm proud to have served in the United States Navy. I want to thank you all. Thank you all for coming. God bless you and God bless America. Thank you.
Love you, Dad.
Gorman. We will now bring up our dignitaries and elected officials for a series of brief remarks. I would like to first welcome the Honorable Congressman Jim Himes to say a few words.
Thank you, Sergeant. It's getting a little spicy over here. I want to thank the American Legion, the VFW, the Marine Corps League, the Jewish War Veterans, and every single veteran who is here today for gathering to remind us of the obligation that each and every one of us Americans has to you for keeping safe our way of life, our values, and our families. On Veterans Day, I always think about something that happened a long time ago when the President of the United States at the time went just northwest of Washington, D.C. to a cemetery where thousands of Americans, including dozens of troops from the state of Connecticut, were being buried. And he spoke for less than 2 minutes And one of those lines that he spoke sticks with me. President Lincoln said, the world will little note nor long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here. And the thing about that line is that President Lincoln was wrong on both counts. The 275 words of the Gettysburg Address, of course, have been passed down to history as one of the greatest presidential speeches ever given, short though it might have been. And the other part is wrong too. The world can and does forget what they did there and what their brothers and sisters in arms have done subsequently for all of us. So when you come together to remind us of our obligation to say thank you on this day, on Memorial Day, of course, we honor those who, in the words of President Lincoln, gave the last full measure of their devotion. But anybody who has ever worn this country's uniform has given up family life, has suffered trauma in every engagement we've had since the Civil War, and we need to understand the fullness of that. So I see our veterans wearing their medals. I would just urge civilians to ask about them, because they tell the story. There's Korean War veterans here. Korea is known as the Forgotten War for a reason. Understand that, and let's make sure it's not a forgotten war. There's Vietnam veterans here. I'm old enough to remember that when Vietnam veterans came home, they were not greeted. They were faced with a divided country that was angry. Ask them about that and assure them that their service is appreciated and loved. There's a device. The Grand Marshal mentioned the Purple Heart. Ask about that. That's wounded in action. There's a device I see just across the way there. It's an Enfield rifle on a blue field. That's known as a combat infantry badge. That means the individual wearing it engaged with the enemy. Asked about that, because nobody does that without something changing inside. So thank you to each and every one of you for your service, but most importantly for reminding us of our service, to thank and honor you for what you have done.
Thank you, Congressman Hines. I would now like to welcome Mayor-elect Caroline Simmons to say a few words.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I am honored to be with you on this beautiful day as we celebrate and honor our heroic veterans who are here with us today and their families for the sacrifices that you have made to keep our country safe and free. We owe you a debt of gratitude, and thank you for all that you have done to defend our country. I also want to thank the group of federal, state, and local officials who are here with us today, the Stanford Patriotic and Special Events Commission, the Veterans Park Partnership, and all of our local veterans groups and American Legion groups for all of your work to honor and celebrate our veterans and to make sure that we remember the stories and that we are doing everything we can to support you as government officials and give you what you deserve after everything that you've sacrificed for our country. Today, we also honor our exceptional Grand Marshal, James Dudley. Thank you for your heroism, and to all of our Purple Heart recipients and their families. They risked their lives and gave the ultimate sacrifice. They were injured or killed from enemy fire and paid the ultimate sacrifice for our country, and we are forever grateful for them. And finally, I just want to thank all the students who marched in the parade today as well, and all of the kids who are with us today. It's so important that we teach the next generation about the heroism and sacrifices of our veterans so that your stories are not forgotten. I was reminded of that this morning when my son Teddy, who's 3, was asking where I was going, and I said I was going to a Veterans Day parade, and he asked, "What's veterans?" And I said, "Veterans are heroes." And he said, "What's heroes?" And I said, "Well, heroes are brave men and women who defend our country and our freedom." And he said, "What's freedom?" And I said, "Well, freedom is, the fact you get to play with your friends safely, with your toys, you get to eat ice cream." And I was struck at the innocence of his questions, but really how remarkable it is what our veterans give to us, to our families. I think sometimes we take for granted the rights and freedoms we have, the fact that our kids can learn and play safely. We can never take that for granted, and we have to do everything we can to continue to stand up for those freedoms and to make sure we're thanking our veterans for making all of this possible, all of these sacred rights we have in our beautiful country. So thank you so much to all of you. God bless you, and enjoy this beautiful day.
Thank you, Mayor Simmons. I would like to welcome Rick Redness, the president of the Stanford Veterans Park Partnership, up to say a few words.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Oh, it's so great to see everybody sitting maskless and enjoying this beautiful day. It's been our goal to honor and remember our veterans for the past 8 years as we've transformed this park. To celebrate the enormous sacrifice that the veterans and their families have made. So on behalf of the Board of Directors of Veterans Park Partnership, including Pat Parry, Tom Casone, Chris Munger, Alan Sosowitz, and our Executive Director, Colleen Harkey, all here today, welcome, and we are grateful to be part of this celebration. To help make this park relevant to people of all ages, our efforts are still continuing. We're not finished. You can see the scaffolding in the back. That will be the unveiling of our Gold Star Monument on Memorial Day. We have other events that we will be celebrating during the year, including the celebration of our 2022 Patriot Award given to Pat Parry. Old Pat Parry, everybody knows Pat. She's the spark that got all of this going and the passion behind every day the efforts that go into this park. So Memorial Day, mark your calendars and come out. Pat's already identified 100 Gold Star family members that are interested in attending. We're continuing with our interviews of our World War II veterans, and it's always great when we announce Fred Drenkon, because Fred was one of our first interviewees. And Fred, I didn't get a chance to say hi personally to you. I'm looking for you now. Where is he?
Over here.
Always good to see you, Fred. And we've also interviewed Charles Jackson, Charlie Ginta, who went to elementary school with my mother, Dominic Santagata. And if there are any other World War II veterans out there, we're starting with World War II with our videographer, Dave Dietrich, and we would look forward to meeting with you. This Wednesday at 6:30, we're collaborating with the library for the PBS documentary American Veteran. There'll be a panel discussion with our own Hubert Delaney and Dave Kaplan, who's also here, and moderated by Colleen Harkey, our Executive Director. So keep an eye on these events, look on our website. Our feeling is that our veterans, their families in this city deserve a world-class Veterans Memorial Park, and we will continue our efforts to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. The origins of Veterans Day can be traced back to World War I. It began as Armistice Day on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month of 1918, when the armistice with Germany came into effect, essentially ending the war. Then in 1919, U.S. President Woodrow Wilson issued a message calling for the celebration and solemn remembrance of those who sacrificed for our nation. This year, we're especially honored to celebrate our wounded warriors, those who have received the Purple Heart. Now, Stephen Fisher, Commander for the Stanford Veterans Council, will lead us in our celebration and our observance.
All right, as you were just told, I'm Steve Fisher. I'm Commander of the Stanford Veterans Council. We're an organization that brings together all of Stanford's veteran service organizations. Our purpose is to foster the spirit of patriotism, love of country, and the American flag, a symbol of freedom, justice, liberty, and love of country. We maintain good working relations among all our veterans organizations with the city of Stanford. We honor veterans. We support the Toys for Tots program, which will be getting underway soon and can really use your support this year with supply problems that are going on. And we represent Stanford's veterans when matters concerning veterans are discussed within the city's Stanford community. I'm pleased to speak about an effort that the Stanford Veterans Council, Stanford Veterans Park Partnership, and the Stanford Patriotic and Special Events Committee has been working on for the past year, and to share a bit about Stanford's rich military history as it relates to the creation of the badge of military merit, the Purple Heart. Sergeant William Brown was a soldier in the Continental Army during the Revolutionary War. Brown was selected to lead a squad of 10 boatmen against an enemy force of hundreds. His primary objective was to take a fortification, creating a diversion so that the larger force could attack the enemy undetected. He bravely led his men in his effort, one which many felt would be a suicide mission. The battle was over in 15 minutes. 5 days later, on October 19, 1781, General Cornwallis surrendered to General George Washington, virtually guaranteeing America's independence. On May 3, 1783, Sergeant Brown of the 5th Connecticut Regiment received the Badge of Military Merit from General George Washington. Brown was the first of only 3 individuals to receive this newly established badge of honor, a piece of purple cloth with a white background in the shape of a heart, created and presented by Washington himself. On February 22, 1932, it was officially renamed the Purple Heart Medal. Sergeant Brown, who I just spoke about, was born and raised in Stamford, Connecticut. And so it is, in honor of Sergeant William Brown and the other 1.8 million Purple Heart Medal recipients since 1783 from Stamford, Connecticut, and across the country that we are gathered here today. The Purple Heart is the United States military's decoration, awarded to those who are wounded or killed while serving in the military. Over the past year, many have worked to gather the names of Stanford residents who had the distinction of being awarded the Purple Heart Medal. It has also been part of our endeavor to have Stanford be designated a Purple Heart City and take our place on the Purple Heart Trail. After this ceremony, please walk the path of the towering monuments behind you. Pause to take note of the many, many names of those from Stanford who fought for our freedom. The veterans listed were posthumously awarded the Purple Heart by President Roosevelt in 1942. Some Purple Heart recipients or their family members are here with us today. They represent all the Purple Heart recipients who could not be with us, whose names will also appear in a list of Stanford Purple Heart recipients that will be made available on the city's website. I ask those of you that are with us today to stand as I read the name of your Purple Heart recipient. Chief Special Warfare Operator Brian Robert Hill, U.S. Navy SEALs. Sergeant John Capuzzi, U.S. Army. Specialist Joseph Buzzio, U.S. Army. PFC Anthony Tony Carlucci, U.S. Army. PFC Walter Crone, U.S. Army. PFC Oswald Fabrizio, U.S. Army. Captain Tim Huff, U.S. Marine Corps. PFC Joseph C. Lacerda, Senior, U.S. Army. Captain Frank Pelosi, U.S. Army. SF-5 Al Meadows. Technician 5 grade, Edward Hayes, U.S. Army. PFC, Joseph Price, U.S. Marine Corps. And Sergeant Fox, Sergeant U.S. Army. And now we tried to find as many people as we could, but I'm sure we didn't get everybody. And now I ask anyone in our audience who is themselves a Purple Heart recipient or are related to a Purple Heart recipient, to please rise and let us recognize you. I will also ask them to contact us so that you may provide us with the information about yourself as a recipient or as your relative. You can find us fairly easily by going to the city website, search for Purple Heart, and you will come up to a page that has a link to a form where you can tell us all about yourself or your loved one. And back to Sergeant Blake.
Thank you, sir. To introduce Major Daniel Ettinger. Major Daniel Ettinger enlisted in the Army in 1965. After basic training, he was selected to be a member of the 3rd Infantry Regiment, or Old Guard, at Fort Myer, Virginia, where he served as a specialist until he left in 1967 to report to Vietnam. Once he returned from the war, he served as a combat trainer for the newly minted officers who would soon be sent into battle. After leaving the Army in 1968, he then took a job as a forest ranger in Nebraska. After that, Ettinger then enlisted in the Nebraska National Guard in 1973 and graduated Officer Candidate School in 1977, graduating as a 2nd lieutenant, rising to the level of captain, and then retiring as a major in 1992 after 26 years of service. Upon leaving the military, Ettinger took a position as an ombudsman with the Federal Environmental Protection Agency, and then, years later, owned a scuba diving shop in Virginia. Upon retirement in 2016, he and his wife moved from Virginia to Torrington to be closer with their 2 children. As a Purple Heart recipient himself, Ettinger serves as the commander of the Military Order of the Purple Heart from Connecticut. Ettinger has worked to establish more visibility for the recipients of the Purple Heart, and one of his key efforts has been to have the town of Torrington recognized as a Purple Heart city. Major Ettinger.
Oh, hello. Everybody happy? I'm going to talk a little bit about a 7-year-old boy who stood at the edge of a burned barrel. His mother said, "Clean your room, and your teddy bear has to go." The teddy bear only had one eye. He had a leg that was torn, and most of the stuffing was gone. So the little boy's tears filled his eyes, and he dropped that teddy bear, his hero, his friend, and his security, into the burn barrel. Years later, in a dark Vietnam jungle, that same boy had to say goodbye to his friend, his security, and his hero. He released the man's soul. Those teddies in our lives should never be forgotten. And as you remember, anybody who's actually been in combat, that first fire in the firefight lasts for a flash. It's a flash in the pan, but it lasts with you forever in your mind. And a little smoke comes out of the end of the barrel, and a whiff of air blows the smoke away. And the question comes to your mind, was that the sigh of the Grim Reaper? Or was that the breath of an angel's kiss? And I say to you today, those who wore this uniform, no matter what service you were in, if you survived and you're here today, you were kissed by an angel. And we thank you for wearing the uniform. The Purple Heart is not something we volunteer for. Nobody raises their hand and says, hey, I want one of those. It's also not a status symbol. It doesn't mean that because you wear the Purple Heart, you're above and beyond everybody else. It simply means that our government recognized the sacrifice that you gave in the military service. And I'm honored to be what's known as the national coordinator for the Purple Heart Trail. And today I have the honor of being able to present to the city of Stamford a plaque that designates them as a Purple Heart city. This states on there, it says, this is the Military Order of the Purple Heart Special Recognition Award bestowed upon with pride to the city of Stamford, Connecticut for your dedication and support honoring American combat wounded veterans, becoming a Purple Heart city, presented by the Patriot members of the Military Order of the Purple Heart in Connecticut. One last thing that people don't understand, we have with us, if you notice on our caps, there's a number 1. This was the first chapter in the United States to become part of the Military Order of the Purple Heart. And it's in Derby, Connecticut. We have 2 people sitting out here in the audience right now that are members of Chapter 1. And don't let this stop here. As you get the member's name of a person that owns a Purple Heart, go online, get it into the Stamford, Connecticut area information. And the second thing is there's a thing called the National Purple Heart Hall of Honor. It's over in New York. Get a hold of that, send your Purple Heart recipient's name forward so that it never dies. It stays in life forever. Thank you for your time, your service, and your ability to be alive with us today.
Thank you so much. I really want to put this out here in the park, but I don't know that it'll survive very well. We'll figure this out somehow. I did want to say briefly that Sergeant Brown, who was the first Purple Heart recipient, having grown up in Stamford, and I asked the question, where is he buried? And I don't think we know just yet. But I asked the question because come next Memorial Day, I may not be here, I will not be here in the same capacity as I am today, obviously. But in every Memorial Day, there's not only the recognition of those who lost their life in service of the country here in Veterans Park, but there's a small group of individuals that hold a service up at a hidden cemetery off of Roxbury Road. And it is really quite moving to be in a cemetery where many of the members, many of the people who lost their lives from Stamford in the Revolutionary War are interred. And maybe, just maybe, that's where Sergeant Brown resides today. Hopefully those that are searching to find where he is buried will figure that out, and we can honor him as the first Purple Heart ever from Stamford, Connecticut. And to all of those who are here today, you guys are truly heroes. You were heroes before you were wounded. You were heroes the moment you put on that uniform and basically said, I'm willing to risk everything I've got for defense of this great country and the great freedoms and the great way of life that we have. And I once again thank you for your service. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. We will now have the posting of a wreath on our Veterans Memorial by 2 members of the Stamford veterans community. We lay this wreath in honor of all our honored dead, whose names grace the monoliths that overlook the Stamford Memorial. This year, Master Sergeant Tom Finn, commander of the Stamford American Legion, and retired Sergeant Alan Sosnowitz will lay the wreath at the foot of our Veterans Monument. Thank you, gentlemen. I would like to now welcome Reverend John Revelle, chaplain at the Stamford Police Department, to lead us in our closing prayer, and then the Fairfield County Police Pipe and Drum for the playing of Amazing Grace.
As you are able, please join me in standing. Almighty God and Heavenly Father, we thank you for blessing our nation with these veterans who have served courageously and selflessly. You alone know the depths of their wounds and the scars that they bear even today. Wounded physically, but also emotionally, mentally, and even spiritually. Father, right now we ask that you would bring healing to those who still bear those pains. Bless their families as they all recover from such wounds. Father, we ask that you would bless this nation with a sense of unity, focusing our attentions on how we can follow their example of selfless and sacrificial service for the betterment of this nation. Thank you and bless these brave men and women. We ask in your name. Amen.
Thank you, gentlemen. You may now be seated. The price of freedom has always been high, and it's always been a price that Stamford has been willing to pay. But the evidence of that sacrifice is all around us here today. We can see it in the names inscribed on these monoliths around us, and we can see it in the faces of the veterans who sit next to us. What they sacrificed is impossible to fully repay. But what we can do is do justice by them, by remembering the lessons they teach us. I believe that through their actions, they teach us lessons about selfless service, and they teach us lessons about strength. Not just service as individuals, but service as a community. Not just the strength to get over, but the strength to get over ourselves. Our enemies do not distinguish from race, creed, class, political party, or where you're from. They look at us, see Americans, and pull the trigger. And so when we see each other, we should also see Americans. Divisive times will try to tell us that that which makes us individuals makes us weak. But I believe that the simple truth is that our differences are our strengths, and our veterans sacrifice themselves to show us this. May we never forget the price our soldiers and veterans pay to defend our freedoms and liberty. We would also like to thank all those who made this day possible. And we would like to thank the mayor for sponsoring today's events, the Stanford Patriotic and Special Events Commission for organizing today's Veterans Day ceremony. A special thank you to our elected and appointed officials and special agents for attending. And another thank you to those individuals and organizations that contributed in so many ways to this wonderful ceremony. I would also like to thank my fellow veterans, to the city that we call home, and to our grateful nation. And I ask you, all take the time today to try to connect with a veteran, especially one you may have met for the first time. Now, I would like to ask all those who can to stand, to please be ready for Chief Warrant Officer 3, Chris Ballgren, commander of the 102nd U.S. Army Band, for the playing of taps and the subsequent dismissal of the ceremony. Thank you, sir. And finally, thank you to all of you for your care and goodwill. All participants in assembled units are hereby dismissed. This concludes our ceremony. Thank you for coming, and please drive home safely.